Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. There is practically no one as dishonest as sleepy, creepy, piss-pants Joe Biden in the entire system of US politics. Now you could argue someone maybe like Eric Swalwell, Adam Schiff, as being more dishonest and disingenuous figures, but nobody has a track record as long as Joe. You know, I'll give it to you that Joe's lies are maybe more insignificant. He's not promoting bogus Russia collusion narratives like Adam Schiff is in the media, with absolutely zero evidence while pretending behind the scenes that he's privy to some classified information. That's more than circumstantial evidence suggesting that Donald Trump is a criminal and a Russian agent working directly with Vladimir Putin. He may not be pushing lies that are that significant, that egregious, but in terms of the sheer quantity of lies and the long history of lies, the track record of being utterly dishonest, I would argue to the extent that it may even be a disorder. I think Joe Biden has a problem. Joe Biden is a compulsive liar who is willing to say anything to sell any story as long as it benefits him in the short term. Let's take a look into Joe Biden's most recent antics. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so as we know, Joe Biden is the most progressive Democrat in the history of Democrats. At least that seems to be Joe Biden's new shtick, that he was with all this woke stuff before any of these college kids. At least that seems to be the image that he tries to portray whenever being interviewed by any young Democrat. He seems to adopt this persona that he's a woke trailblazer. Take a look at what he said recently.
You codified support for same-sex marriage and interracial marriages like ours. I'm curious what your evolution was like on marriage equality and what the federal government might be able to do to protect LGBTQ Americans, especially trans kids who are dealing with all these regressive state laws that are popping up right now.
I can remember exactly where my epiphany was.
Okay.
I hadn't thought much about it, to tell you the truth, and I was a senior in high school, and my dad was dropping me off. I remember about to get out of the car, and I looked to my right, and two well-dressed men in suits kissed each other. I mean, they gave each other a kiss. And then one looked like he was heading to the DuPont building, and one looked like he headed to the Hercules Corporation building. And I'll never forget, I turned and looked at my dad. He said, "Joey, it's simple. They love each other. It's simple." No, I'm not joking. It's simple. They love each other. And it's never been, it's never been, it's just that simple. It doesn't matter whether it's same-sex or a heterosexual couple. They should be able to be married. What is the problem?
Joe Biden is actually trying to make the claim that he was a trailblazer in the Democrat establishment when it came to gay marriage. You know, all those other bigoted politicians that came before him, like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton.
I believe that marriage is not just a bond, but a sacred bond between a man and a woman. So I take umbrage at anyone who might suggest that those of us who worry about amending the Constitution are less committed to the sanctity of marriage or to the fundamental bedrock principle that it exists between a man and a woman going back into the mists of history as one of the foundational institutions of history and humanity and civilization.
You've said that your religious faith dictates that marriage should be between a man and a woman. Would you elaborate on that?
Well, what I believe is that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Why? What in your religious faith calls you to be against gay marriage?
Well, what I believe in my faith is that a man and a woman, when they get married, are performing something before God, and it's not simply the two persons who are meeting.
That being the case, Mr. Obama, that being the case, if something is not a choice, if something is innate, then why isn't it a civil right? And why isn't your support of civil unions as opposed to marriage, does that amount to separate but equal?
No, I think there are a whole host of things that are civil rights, and then there are other things, such as traditional marriage, that I think express a community's concern and regard for a particular institution.
So marriage is not a civil right as far as you're concerned?
I don't think marriage is a civil right.
What a bunch of establishment, corporate, Democrat bigots. Joe Biden is not like that. No, of course, Joe Biden has never been like that. Joe Biden is a trailblazer. Well, not exactly. Joe Biden claims that he's been progressive since before even the age of 20 years old, and he's always held the same beliefs. Here's Joe Biden maybe 10 or 15 years ago.
You know, think about this. The world's going to Hades in a handbasket. We are desperately concerned about the circumstance relating to avian flu. We don't have enough vaccines. We don't have enough police officers. And we're going to debate the next 3 weeks, I'm told, gay marriage, a flag amendment, and God only knows what else. I can't believe the American people can't see through this. We already have a law, the Defense of Marriage Act, where we've all voted, not where I voted and others said, look, marriage is between a man and a woman, and states must respect that. Nobody's violated that law. There's been no challenge to that law. Why do we need a constitutional amendment? Marriage is between a man and a woman. What's the game going on here?
The guy is a frickin' liar, and he always comes up with these ridiculous stories. You know, I was riding in the car with my dad and I saw two dudes starting to kiss. And my dad took me aside and told me, Joe, they love each other. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that never happened. And I'm willing to bet $10,000 that that never happened. Joe always has this elaborate story that seems ripped from some random soap opera TV show that he watched on cable once. He takes it and he writes it into his own life story. And he's always, every single time, just full of crap. Joe Biden has explicitly been anti-gay marriage the large majority of his political career. His supposed view on the issue only really shifted with the Democrat Party consensus shifting, I think roughly halfway or possibly towards the end of Obama's time in office. And the most ridiculous part here is that all of this stuff is documented. I don't understand how Joe Biden thinks that he could get away with this stuff. Well, actually, I do know how he gets away with this stuff. Leftoids take CNN a little bit too seriously, and so when someone like Brian Stelter tells them to not do their own research,
doing your own research, it seems so innocent, but it can have serious consequences.
well, they take that to heart and they don't do their own research and just follow whatever the TV tells them. But there's a whole timeline of Joe Biden's public career. He's been in politics for over 50 years. His political stances and the way that he represents himself on policy and issues has been archived. There's a chronological timeline compiling Joe Biden clips, stances, articles, his voting track record, all of it. We know exactly who Joe Biden is. I mean, it's no mystery. It's kind of similar to Donald Trump. You know, he's been in the public eye for so long that it would be foolish for him to try to deny that he held a stance in the past or try to rewrite the history of his previous statements. There's no way that he'd be able to get away with that. I mean, the media is so hellbent on digging up stuff from his past that they're even willing to make stuff up, like Donald Trump was a staunch supporter of the invasion of Iraq, contradicting his more recent claims that he was always critical of the US government's actions in the early 2000s. They completely contorted and twisted what he said back then in order to dunk on him. Meanwhile, Joe Biden gets to just rewrite his history. There is no one more dishonest than Joe Biden. He's lied about his family background, he's lied about his education. Whenever he's in the presence of civil rights leaders, or frankly, in front of any black crowd, he claims that he marched for civil rights, which he didn't. He claims that he got arrested with Nelson Mandela, which he didn't. Whenever he's in front of railroad unions, he pulls out his phony Amtrak story. When he's in front of a crowd of truck drivers or bus drivers, he claims that he used to be a truck driver and he used to be a bus driver, which of course we know is verifiably false. And now his most recent addition, when he's in front of a woke mob or the LGBT lobby, he claims that he was a Democrat trailblazer since high school, supporting gay marriage or supposed marriage equality. Joe Biden is a snake. He is a liar. He is possibly the most dishonest man in America. And at this point, it's not up for discussion. We have the receipts. It's 50 years of non-stop Joe Biden lies. Joe Biden falsehoods. Kooky Uncle Joe just rambling along, reinventing his life story at will as he goes. I don't believe a single word that comes out of this old fool's mouth. That's what I got for you guys, though. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.